All right, let's see if the audio works, and then we'll jump right into this wonderful, impending, soon to be classic stream. And I've calmed down a little bit since earlier today as a result of the Twitter thing. I'll probably be doing a mock funeral for the account when the stuff is over. All right, good. The audio is working. That's excellent. So I'm not here to be, encourage any self-loathing or any other stuff that people associate with anyone that says something about this crap. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, someone that I've mentioned before. He's actually been on this channel last year, and we were talking about the voice actor situation. And I've described numerous times how I've had people who sign up for this stuff and then they just disappear after a certain amount of time. And I was telling him about how when I was trying to do this other project that I kind of said screw it to after a certain amount of times, I had spoken to well over a dozen different VAs. And, I'm one of these people that really doesn't mind when someone declines to do something because, especially if it's related to a project or some collaboration, because let's be real, no one on here is so unique in that they couldn't be replaced. Take, for example, me. I was, I guess, somewhat notable for talking about the chick stuff, but anybody could get on here and tell you about how some stupid broad. It's not really that much of a skill or whatever. Um, I was saying to him, I don't care if people say no to wanting to work on the project. I hate the fact that you have these people who, instead of just saying, I don't want to do this, they ask you 99 questions before. Like, I literally had one person who I spoke with for 4 days about doing a project. All of a sudden, they stopped and they asked me at least 7 questions. They stopped responding after a while. I go, hey, what's the deal? Are you going to do this? Oh no, and I know I wasted your time, but good luck. Stuff like that is obnoxious. But I was having this thing with him where I was saying, it doesn't feel like almost every single thing in your life, and not even, again, not self-loathing, because you actively fight against this stuff. You don't just sit there and accept it. But it doesn't feel like there's this weird push for things to only ever get worse, because it's like when me and him were talking about the chick stuff, I said, you go over here and you go on these websites, right? But you only go on there because in real life you had trouble talking to these clowns when you saw them at stores and at school and other places. So you went from the real world to the virtual world because the real world was you didn't really see much of anything going on there. And in exchange for the problems of the real world, which are usually someone saying, I don't want to give you my number, and that's about it. Or just, sometimes it's a little bit worse, but it's never, there are certain things about in-person interactions that do not occur when you know, as opposed to the online stuff. So basically anything that happens online, right? With him talking to these chicks is another crappy, bad circumstance that he would have had alleviated for him if the ones that he had encountered in person in real life had said yes. And then people argue, oh, well, he could have been turned down at some point. Like him and the person he gets with in this hypothetical could have broke it off a year later, and then he would have been on there anyway. But you don't know that. The whole point of what we were talking about is that there's so much difficulty with just trying to get a date that it almost seems like it's some kind of weird game to really go through this stuff. And I was telling them about this. It's really similar to the Twitter thing. You go on there to promote a project, and it's almost like if because with attempting to not appear to like tweet the same thing over and over again, you have to make each message unique, and that takes longer than just posting the same thing over and over. So you take the time to make your stuff individual, to make it unique, so they can't claim that you're just posting the same thing over and over, and then you still get struck. But look, I was trying to explain to him that another part of what is so aggravating about a lot of these things in the present day is that a lot of people, and we've spoken about this before, look at the aftermath as opposed to the context or the prelude. You know, you see someone that's sitting around not talking to anybody, you don't think to yourself, well, maybe that person tried to talk to people in the past and they, you know, burned them up, or or pissed them off or stabbed them in the back, and that's why he doesn't want to bother with them anymore. Instead, they'll just say, "Hey, that person's crazy because they're not doing what I do," and uh, I, I'm of the Soviet Union mindset that if you're not like me, then there's something wrong with you. So we're just going to leave them to their vices and demonize them in their own little classical way. Uh, it's really weird. Like I I kept trying to explain that part of being a uh, a realist about a lot of these different things is that you have the curse of knowledge. Like in being someone that's been on YouTube for 11 years, and in being someone that's tried to talk to chicks for what 8 or 7 when I officially just hung up my hat. It causes a lot of the prospects of um, things supposedly getting better in the future to just like completely fall flat. And I can't tell how many different people have tried to tell me the same thing over and over. Oh, this year this will change. That year this will change. I said, look, I'm not trying to play, Back to the Future, the reverse version. I'm strictly stating to you what the present day circumstances are and why they suck. And if I see that happening on multiple fronts, right? Like, let's say the chick thing was bad, but this stuff with this website didn't happen. I guess okay, well, there's half and half. But for something to continuously stay ridiculously difficult, no matter what experience you're presently dealing with or you happen to have, unless it's some kind of ridiculous thing. Like I said to this guy before, I could have videos that are worked on for because I was actually accused by this person. I want to put the work into stuff. I said, look, man, whenever you do an episode of the show, you got to draw hundreds of pictures out. You got to go through all these voice actors. The quality doesn't matter. It's the fact that you're on a website with this screwed up algorithm, with a bunch of people who press a red button and then don't check out any of the stuff the person puts out. And that's as simple as it is. There's no getting around that. And we've seen this be done to much bigger people. Go to PewDiePie's channel where you have over 90 million subscribers, and the guy can't even break 10 million on average. It doesn't mean his stuff is crap or it's trash or he pissed off 80 million people somehow. It's because the algorithm and the people combined equal most of the content by channels with certain number of subscribers, usually never meeting the threshold to surpass that number. Let me say hello to Mark. Yeah, Mark, I don't know if you heard, but I got banned on Twitter. And I was really upset about it because that was my main place to go and promote my stuff. And I was actually I was laughing because when I was doing the project last month. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, when I was doing the project last month, or rather for most of this month, it was like this great, like, dude, the Twitter thing happened sometime between 3 this morning and like 12 or 11 in the afternoon, in the morning as well. And right before that happened, you saw the video I put up right before that. It was like this big triumphant moment because when you do an episode of the project, you have to watch it like 7 or 8 times, the different like pieces of it when you put them in with the lines and stuff. So like to imagine you go to sleep that night, yes, I did it. I was able to finish this thing I've been working on for weeks. And then you wake up and then the main arm for your campaign to promote your stuff gone, just like the Thanos snap. Oh man, but that's why I was saying that's the title of the stream. It just seems like it doesn't get any better. Like whatever issue is alleviated, whether it's like a project or some other thing, it's either going to get replaced by something else or by some things else. Like you can never just get to a point where a problem is finally resolved or over, as far as like not having something that damages your prospects in one way or the other. Because I'm sensible enough to know that promoting stuff on YouTube by itself isn't enough, and I also believe, I mean, I have good authority to also say that putting something up, let's say one time on any of these different places, isn't enough. So to go on somewhere like Twitter and to keep changing your messages so you can fit their criteria, which is flimsy as hell because it doesn't describe, like the actual crimes that were committed. They just tell you that you're off. It's really ridiculous. But whatever. People they don't care. Freedom of speech, does say text and content is not existent. Well, yeah, but like they sent me over the last I'd say maybe 5 or 6 months, 2 different times when my account got locked. And in both instances, they wanted me to like change my password or put in some activation code. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that's them just doing their little verifying thing. Like, dude, literally, put stuff up as late as this morning. And then hours later, that happens. Like I'm saying that they don't, it's the process is invisible. Like there's no actual way of knowing what pisses them off. Yeah, they have their guidelines, but again, I was not posting the same thing over and over again. So that's them being stupid. And then another pet peeve I have, and I think you might have maybe you've been here before. I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, but I really hate text like as a form of communication. I've made a stream about that before. So I love how this big company, because Twitter is this major social media handle, no phone number, just a bunch of messages, and it's like you guys really are trying to tell me that out of all the accounts on here, you weren't able to get in for possible what? No, Mark, for all the people that get attacked on there by other people on there, I don't buy it. You have to forgive me of my skepticism. But let's say that even if that was the case, right? You would think there would be some process involved or them actually telling you what happened. And I was actually trying to say earlier that, when you have this stuff happen to you on a number of different websites, it's like how I've been kicked out of different servers on Discord. People try to do this thing where they try to say, if they're aware of this stuff, you are the issue, you're the problem. And then you say, well, wait a second, how the hell am I able to, be a decent member of society and also, not get into this trouble on other platforms? Because I've been on Instagram for, I'd say 7 years, never had a problem with them. Been on here for 11, never had a problem. So, like, that's why I don't buy it. Which is the point I was trying to make. I don't know. It just seems like for all the stuff that's done on my part, there's like this weird kind of, and I'm not one of these people that believes in superstitions or curses or what I've said before that you feel like you got cursed with romance stuff, but it's like there's this weird push by forces that are, more powerful than I am to just sort of like screw up as much as they can. Like if I'm going to have no computer troubles when I'm, let's say, trying to finish a project, I'm going to have voice actors that, can't record or choose not to record because reasons that are only known to them. Like there's always this weird sort of push by figures or things that are out of my control to screw it up. So just like with this website, you go on here, you try to follow their rules and regulations, and then you wake up and then it's like stuff like that's just weird to me. It doesn't it's and I guess with me it's not one of those things I'm like, oh my god, because I know the way the internet works, that all the stuff on here is digital, people can disappear, stuff can disappear, it happens. So I don't get so attached to it to where once it happens or it occurs, I'm just stunned, because I've seen people on all these different platforms that I like get screwed with. But to attempt to follow the rules of these places and really be given no kind of notification in advance is really strange. Zilla Envoy, who decided to come back for a rematch after the previous stream. I love how I was sitting in here with no kind of like messing with at all for like a solid 3 or 4 hours, and then right as I start streaming, somebody comes in there. Yeah, it's about Twitter. It's about just everything. Like, like I said, I went to sleep this morning at like 3 or 4, being really, really happy that I finally finished that damn video because I was, like I said, you have to watch each part over and over and over again. And, then you wake up and this happens. It's like, you just, no matter what little thing you feel you've done, it's always someone else screwing around and messing things up in the background. Yeah, Twitter's really the only way I have any control over the views of stuff because, if you share something on there over and over again, it will get views. But I'm not going to play this game where they're going to mess with my account on there and then expect me to want to come right back. It's just funny how it's so aggravating to just kind of like play by people's rules and not really try to roll the boat, and then you still get slapped in the face for attempting to quell their concerns and whatnot. Because I really have no kind of like inherent desire to be antagonistic toward these places, which is why I try to go off of the guidelines that are established there. But it still is like, I mean, hell, because a lot of people go on for violating. Yeah, that's why it's weird. That's why it's strange. That's why it makes no sense. I don't know, man. We've been over this before. There are different sets of rules for different people, so it shouldn't be too surprising, even though it still is screwed up. Kind of like the thing with that guy that we call went to jail 5 years ago in that gang member sweep up, and then got the what's her name? I forgot her name, but she's the Harris to a one of these like millionaires or billionaires, and bailed him out, and then got him a modeling contract and got knocked up. I was like, what kind of otherworldly, sick, twisted joke is that? And look, you actually have people who get mad that I'll take issue with something like that, but I'm sorry for as much scrutiny and attempts at demeaning my character as there were when that chick stuff, was like actually something I talked about regularly, with videos dedicated to it. I'm not one of these people that's going to let something like that slide because it's antithetical to the claims that were made about, my character. And look, let's clarify again. I'm not saying that people who go to prison don't deserve love or whatever, but again, in high standards, Chick USA, they tell you if you have a criminal record, if you've been to jail, but then here's someone that did that and not only gets with someone that's much more higher up than them, they get them out over a mugshot. That's what I'm talking about when I say there are like weird forces that are out of my control that make certain stuff happen that just always seems kind of like it's this like a real life parody. I think I mentioned in one stream that I wouldn't be surprised if I went outside and I just saw cars flying and like cows putting on capes or whatever, because that's how weird stuff is. Like that's how strange and bizarre I expect things to be on a daily basis. Now, they're not bizarre enough to where you would feasibly believe that's going to just like appear in front of you, but you get the point that these really weird things happen on these websites and in real life to where I almost can't take it seriously. Like if we didn't have those shootings and then like these different countries that were bombing, I probably wouldn't take any of this stuff seriously. If there was no crime and we just had homelessness and I was like, is this real? That'd probably be the only issue I could take seriously if we had no crimes or wars at that point. But like all these relationships and uh, you know, people putting up videos talking about how to get views and whatnot. I used to watch those. I used to really believe that stuff. And then I sat back and, actually kind of experimented with how people react to certain things. And I just realized that it's all a bunch of malarkey. Doesn't mean I'm some expert on how to generate that kind of traffic, but it certainly means I'm not going to buy and believe stuff that people write on these websites. And really, that's kind of what's so disgusting is that you're expected to sort of take whatever personal experiences you've had with being on here and put it in a bottle so you can be breastfed this information. So let's say Envoy's been on the channel where a person was on there for 10 years, only had like, I don't know, 70 subs. He's supposed to completely erase that from his memory and go, oh, this person, if they had trouble, it's because they just didn't make this kind of content. I was like, dude, look at TYT. Almost every video they have is about Trump or politics or whatever the hell, and millions of subs. Do I really need some big fancy studio office for people to be able to hear what I'm saying? No. And I'm not going to get something like that if I don't feel it's a worthy investment. So it's one stone uncracks the other. I loved having that person say you should get this, you should get, like, dude, it's a YouTube video. The only people who are doing that stuff have already owned it before they started doing it. So even the people who he's like citing as examples don't even go out of their way to like impress a bunch of people who are flaky as hell. like he really was like, oh yes, if you get this, you will be able to. Like, no, sir, no. Maybe someone else, not me. Because I remember I sat there with that. What was that video called? The Why Romance is a Scam. I had to sit there for like 3 hours editing that thing. I had to sit in front of the camera and read the stuff. First, dig up all these messages. It was a whole bunch of editing stuck in that. But I said, look, that didn't really do that much better than some of the other top stuff I have. So, I'm kind of missing where all this work was supposed to translate to views. And see, I never said that. I said before, you can have the most comedic, well edited, scripted thing ever and put it on here, and it just doesn't, Well, Mark, that video was over. Let me look at what the length was on that. I know it was over 2 hours long, because remember, it was like 20 plus chicks. I showed the screenshots of me talking to, like, as proof that they all act the same way when they start talking to these guys, and all those people who tell you that they're not the same, are using stuff that isn't even relevant to them talking to you. Let me see. Oh no, it wasn't 2 hours. It was 1 hour and okay, so it was 2 hours of me. Yeah, I had to edit stuff out because it was so long, and I still kept out like 5 or 6 different interactions on there. But yeah, bunch of editing went into that. It doesn't do any better than regular stuff. So that tells me we don't need to break our behinds like we did on that video. It's as simple as that. And I tried to say before, if a person wants to make something, they're going to do it in spite of the number of views. So just like with my show, that I don't care if that gets 10 views or 2 views or hell none. I will always make that because I believe in that story. Now, don't get it twisted. People like their stuff getting watched, but I'm not going to be like, oh man, this didn't get 300 by its 3rd week. Time to hang up the hat. No, it's dumb. At least it is to me anyway. Some people will do that. But when it's something like the news or whatever, where I just speak in front of a camera, I don't care if that gets 10 views. Oh well. As many people watched as it took to make it, so it's all good. It's annoying, sure, but that's how YouTube works at this point. Like I said, we can go down the list of all kind of big people on this website that I really like, or that at least are really notable or will like generally, that I can name, and then also show you the various stuff they have and how it barely usually graces the number of subs they have. But then, I'm supposed to be told by these people. And I thought what was really weird is that it seems like the only people who are really getting a big boost are those that are picked by the algorithm or like have some kind of big drama controversy thing going. Look at that Kick Vic thing. When that started and all those people were, siding with Vic, in my opinion, rightfully, because I thought that was nonsense to get rid of someone over what some broads were saying, but whatever. When that started, you had like 5 or 6 different people on here go from having like just get tens of thousands of stuff. It was crazy. I was like, wow, they're just exploding. That's insane. But you get the point that there has to be some kind of controversy or ongoing circumstance that's not related to that person causing them to just surge like that. Whereas with me, when I go, okay, let me talk about this news story, it's not really a controversial thing. It's kind of out of the news after that day. So it's really a short term here in the moment thing, which is what news is. But people like to pretend that's not the case. Oh no, if you do a video on the news, you should be able to watch it 8 weeks from now and still care. It's like, yeah, but unless you're doing like a retrospective, it's not really relevant here. Oh. But yeah, we're fighting this fight, man. We're putting up stuff. We're still dealing with these websites acting like crazy. I'd say it's an aggravating process, and the only real benefits I get out of it are that there are a few people who have subbed, like a Mark, like an Envoy, like a Ruben, like anyone else that I forget to mention who actually tune into this stuff and want to see it. And I choose to get involved or continue to pay attention to trying to do this stuff because of that small group. I've expressed my appreciation before, and I've attempted to make that not be a thing that's not recurring. Like me just saying, "Oh, I'm so thankful," because I am. I'm not. A lot of people abandon someone if they don't say every single thing they want to talk about every 2 seconds. So I said they're flaky as hell. That's why it's like crazy to me. People actually want to make a living off of here. Well, I appreciate it, Mark. I get some flack because I don't come on here with a script and a piece of paper to read off of in a monotone voice. I'd rather it be kind of a thing where it's just spur of the moment and maybe someone will say something in the chat and then I'll react to that and then we'll pick it up from there. But I've noticed this really weird, and it first appeared to me like this idea that you're just kind of stuck in Trashville, garbage land, and it's not. Just to clarify, that's not aggregate to my state of California. That's aggregate to the current era of how people are and how things are. That first became something I noticed probably 2 years ago, because that was when I quit the chick stuff, because I said, look, man, I have 12 months in every year. If I have to spend 3 or 4 months talking to some broad just for her to tell me she wants to be friends and not take it further ever, we're done with you. So, I got tired of that. But at that time, I was sitting there and I was thinking about just being in high school and middle school and all these other different grades and whatnot. And I was like, I couldn't fathom if you had gone back and told me 4 or 5 years prior to that things would stay the same when it came to, because I used to believe when people would say there are billions of chicks and one of them and yada yada yada. It was like, yeah, that's a thing that's going to happen. And at this point, I don't buy it. Because I actually addressed that in the Proof Romance is a Scam video, where I was talking about how they bring up these numbers, and then when you actually crunch the numbers and go, okay, if there's billions of them, how many of them have access to a computer? How many of them, like the way you look? Just stuff like that is when it becomes a lot smaller and smaller, as it actually is. See, people like the idea of telling someone that they're going to get with the person and they're going to ride off into the sunset, because most of us don't want to see someone that we don't have like hatred or disdain for just completely screw up and not get the things they want. So we want to believe that that person is going to get someone. With my friend, I told him, look, you can go out, because he said he was going to stop approaching at 25, which is in 4 years or whatever. It was like, look, you don't have to pick an age. You just have to say to yourself, do I really want to keep convincing myself of something that has not been so for so long? And at that point, you can just walk away. Doesn't mean you won't occasionally relapse and go, oh man, maybe if I talk to this one. But anytime you do that, just remind yourself of all the ones you spoke to before and ask yourself, what is so special about this particular person to where they will be any different? That's what I do. That's why it doesn't affect me. And look, I'm not, again, trying to come on here and pretend to be some strong, non-bothered person. Like, there are a lot of things that just irk me. Like, when I told you about that idiot that got knocked up, that bothered me because I was someone who spoke with multiple chicks that I wanted some kind of future with about eventually having children. And I found it so frustrating that a person who never talked about this at all, and this has been confirmed with their own partner, and just decided to not wear a condom because they thought that would be funny, was able to get that chance first. I thought that was completely ridiculous, and I openly expressed my disdain and resentment toward that person for that. But guess what? I had disdain and resentment for them prior to this even happening because they're a piece of trash. That's why I don't talk to them. Every time I hear about them, it's some kind of bad story. It's always some kind of fraud or some scam or some ticket they got for not following basic instruction. All kind of things occurring. See, all this computer stuff again is just virtual. You won't hear about me getting banned from like some actual place that's not on someone's keyboard, or that's run by real people and not someone that wants to exercise power through Google. You get the point. It's not like this online stuff. It is what it is. But I was sitting there and I was like, it's unbelievable. There's no chick that's going to want to do this with me. And I remember reading the stuff that people wrote where they were like, let's see, they're bitter. What was that? That's better. Being robotic is boring when producing content. Okay, I just read that. I'm sorry I didn't read that earlier, Mark. But I was like, it's unbelievable. You got all these chicks, and I'm supposed to believe none of them are going to ever do this. Or I'm supposed to believe that they would do this if I just had these few things that people describe. And again, as a person who really feels, for the most part, when they do content alone, because like on my show, I got to write it out, I got to draw it out, I got to edit it, share it, just all these different things I do on my own. I'm thinking to myself, if any of this ever became, let's say, successful financially, am I really not going to remember all those times I was alone when I was coming up and just like now all of a sudden want to embrace some freeloading parasite just because they have a taco between their legs and they promise that they're going to, help me out with this thing. They should help me out with that thing when I wanted it. Now that it's coming up after the fact, it can go take a hike because there is a time and place for everything. There was a time and place when a lot of these online comments about what you should do to get with someone would have actually convinced me otherwise. But hey, they missed their time. If they had left that stuff 3 years ago, instead they didn't. So because of that, they don't get their little wonderful thing. And you're right, no one is guaranteed a partner. Many people dislike this position because it disposes the theory that there is someone for everyone. Well, that's my thing. I've met plenty of chicks that I was completely fine with. I was, for example, into one chick that was blind, into one that couldn't walk or was, like in a wheelchair or whatever. But here's the thing. Just because you think they are a good match for you, this where mutual attraction comes in, doesn't mean they think you're a good match for them. So, I could meet literally millions of chicks and speak to them on a personal level through text and calls and whatever. But if they say no, what the hell do my feelings have to do with it if theirs override the possibility of ever taking it any further? And that's the point I tried to make to these people. When I got called selective and picky because I stated what things turn me off and what things I would never like consider of a person. Hint, hint, they're all things like that, you would have to actually do yourself and make the conscious decision to do. They got pissed, and it was like, I'm not the one disqualifying loads and loads of people. I literally presented to you dozens of chicks I was perfectly fine with. So, if they're the ones turning me down, they're the ones with the higher ego here. That's what that means. But people don't want to listen to that. It doesn't go with their narrative that all the broads are darling little Disney angels. Oh man, let me turn that down. I didn't realize that was that loud. I actually have this pretty annoying noise that's in the background of this little computer vibrating. Well, look, when you go over to the project stuff, that was always bothering to me because I felt like I would put so much work into that stuff, and it was like for every time I would break my behind, there was really this weird sort of oh yeah, they're never wrong, Mark. This weird sort of ambivalence, like, oh, here's the thing I just spent 4 weeks working on. Oh, you can't watch it? Why? Oh, you're not interested? Well, that's not what you said last week, which is, you remember that's what happened with that person that I stopped talking to. Stuff like that just reminds me of how I'm so sick of these people. It's all right, Envoy. No one is upset that you're not writing anything. There are a lot of people that aren't writing anything, or rather, there are multiple other people who are not typing things similarly or whatever. But going back to what I was saying, it is what it is that they don't want to participate. They don't want to do this stuff. The problem is there's a derailment that comes along with that. And I'm sorry, but when I go on a website that says we want roles, right? We want to be voice actors. We want people to hire us for their stuff so we can provide our voice for it and get the experience and the recognition and, yada, yada, yada. Well, if they don't want to record for something that's literally offered to them, that the person is saying, hey, I need you for this because I don't have anybody else, and they turn down, they resist that, I'm kind of at a loss for what else I can do. Um, and when you have that happen to you dozens and dozens of times, you're not going to become convinced that it's now all of a sudden going to change, that it's going to get better, that it's magically going to improve. Really, I'm kind of in like a standstill where I'm really, as far as with the projects, I'm very hesitant to bring any new person on it because I'm thinking to myself, well, hell, they're just going to quit after 3 or 4 scripts anyway. I've seen people do that before. They sign on, they do a little bit, they disappear, and I really hate that. And that's why I've tried to be so proactive with limiting the number of people on this stuff. And even when you only have like 5 or 6 or 7, they still find ways to piss you off. Oh, you can't do this one part because this person didn't record their thing for several months. Oh well, tough luck for you. And then what's your alternative? Wait for them or go on the website and ask another 50 people that are going to say no anyway because the previous 18 did or whatever. And again, when you say something like that, you get rebuked as being negative. You're simply going off of your own experience, the curse of knowledge. And they don't want to accept that. They want to sit there and believe in fairy tales and pixie dust about this magic person that comes along and is able to show up and save the day. It's like, look, I believe in comic books, but that doesn't mean all the stories that are in them are true. And when I was sitting here and kind of thinking about the Twitter thing, I said, in someone's fairy tale universe, I could easily say, I don't need Twitter. I can go and share this on, enter social media website here with millions of people on a daily. But the truth is, Twitter is kind of unique. It's not like YouTube has a comment section, but that's not the main attraction of the site. Like with Twitter, everyone's typing a comment and leaving it to someone. You can't really do that on places like on Instagram. You can do that on a picture, but you can't post a link without it, like the person having to like copy it and then put it somewhere else. Whereas when you post it on Twitter, you can just click it and there you go. So it's really hard to just sort of like not get pissed off when you get taken off of there. And I'm kind of stuck in this weird bind because let's say my account gets restored, bar some miracle. Am I really going to want to go back on a website where I feel like I'm walking on eggshells? So it's just, so I was saying about things suck because if you remove that from the equation, what other website do I have to use or can I use to promote this stuff that is frequented by, again, millions of people on a daily basis, all typing stuff? Most couples settle for each other. Dude, I sell for so many different broads and got like you don't know how aggravating it is to settle for a bunch of chicks that you can pick all kind of things you don't like about, but you still don't let it be the main thing that stops you from wanting them, and then go on here and be told, wear this, have this much money, yada yada yada, and then it's from people who don't have their picture up, who for all you know or don't even have a pot to piss in. So it's this weird. It's like, who are you talking to? So I don't understand. I really saw myself as someone that just kind of like in a really, people were talking about their perfect world. I could probably settle for this if I was getting, let's say, a fourth of my subs to watch my stuff, so like 500 views on average. Wouldn't use Twitter at all. Wouldn't have gone to any of these other websites to try and get that. If I was with some chick, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, wouldn't have went online at all. None of this online stuff would even happen. And it just feels like these are such easy solutions that could have happened if enough people participate or actively were involved, but they're not. And it's not because, the stuff I make is so horrible and, oh my God, I can feel my ears pouring off my head. No, it's because people are not coordinated. They don't want to do anything for anyone but themselves. And I said, you know what? If that's the way we're truly going to be, I'll do the exact same thing. On Twitter, I'll go on there and make the site my personal billboard, not post about anything else unless it has my link on it. I'll do that because, again, we're all here for ourselves, right? Like, dude, imagine like all the guys that have come on here asking for this chick stuff. Yet every single one that's come on there on Patreon, they have two things in common. They either say they like the political stuff or they like a combination of everything. You're not doing a very good job trolling Mr. Japanese man. The best troll you ever did was when you made a name that I couldn't pronounce. That was genius. But seriously, all these, if I'm supposed to believe the majority of these people want the romance stuff, they sure as hell don't show any support for it. Like I said, the last one I did with the label of the chick stuff, dude, you knew I was a Sanders supporter. Get out of here. That's like going to the McDonald's. Wait a second, you guys sell burgers here? After saying burgers stuff, like, we're here, what you're here for, what the moniker is. Come on. But like I was saying, and I appreciate the derailment. It's really nice. It's very tasteful, and it freshens up Friday. You had no clue, no idea. You just came in here and said that about Sanders, and just like, what did you expect me to do? Like, you see how that doesn't really add up? That you just picked coincidentally the one of the few presidential candidates I support, and then put them in there, and I'm like, he had no clue. He's an honest soul. He was so innocent and had no idea. Yeah, I watched him. What, because of one debate, I'm supposed to like renounce my support? I'm supposed to go, well, didn't perform to the best visibility during this debate, so I guess the whole, the race is over. I gotta pick somebody else. That's the solution, huh? What a supporter I am. If you have one performance in the debate I didn't think was that great, time to toss you away and fly over to someone else's camp. Yeah, that actually is something that is depicted and shown of chicks a lot of times, because they'll say, "Oh my God, I found out that you're this. Goodbye," something like that. When they were talking about their like high standards or whatever, where if you don't fit all their boxes and they just get rid of you. I was actually debating doing a stream about this one character who had this lady that had, I use that term very loosely, had pissed me off last week because she had like said something to the effect of, why did you, it's like basically, trying to, she got mad because I didn't want to be friends with her and, whatever. It's like, yeah, I got enough friends. I'm not trying to have all these It's like I'm so sick of that term, man. All these people online want me to call them my friends. Like, dude, we don't talk, and even if we speak, it's through a computer. Once you get rid of your account, I'm never going to hear from you again. So what is the point of that? I think it's dumb, and that people need to like stop going on here looking for stuff they can't get in the real world. But like I said, my policy is you go on here, you interact, but don't get freakishly attached to stuff. Your mom's not a bad friend to have if she's, the standard loving parent that I'm assuming she is. Again, I don't know, so whatever. But going back to what I was saying, you've actually in the last couple of weeks had a lot of these people that go over to these channels, and it seems like every time I watch this stuff and I go to people's channels, I look at the I know this is off, but what's the name of the in the beginning of your Overtaken? You love off-topic stuff. I saw that comment you made about that actor. I can't wait for him to sue you for using his name. You should have asked. I don't know if he's still here. Let me see. You should have asked Envoy because he recognized it. Or Winter Fresh because he commented on that. I didn't say anything bad about him, so I don't know where the great actor comment came from. I'm not over here trying to rebuke his skills. I didn't even talk about any actors because I don't review films. The closest you'll get to me talking about a movie is if it's something that's like universally panned or just seen as horrible, like Green Lantern. That movie was so bad it canceled 2 sequels and a show that was unrelated to it. Yeah, like I was saying, I apologize to Mark. I know he's getting really bored of all this non. Well, I didn't see Green Hornet. Like I apologize to Mark because he I'm sure he's really upset over this off-topic content. I can expect him to withdraw his support by midnight. I want to get one of those like some kind of format thing where, because what I noticed is that it seems like if you put up some like ambiguous title, you get more people to go in there. So I want to have one of those little format things where I just come up with some titles in advance and then speak about that, and then kind of am open to swapping topics and whatnot, depending on what's stated. Oh, Cortez, you saw my announcement. Twitter yanked me. They gave me the boot. So now I can join Alex Jones and being off of there. Jesus Christ. There's actually a clip of Jimmy from TYT who was talking about how these different social media websites don't have a fair judicial stated system of like when they get rid of people. It's like I agree. Like that comment just was ringing in my ear as I read the thing today. I was like, wow, they can literally like. I just want to reiterate this. I last posted at 3 a.m. when I went to sleep, and then in the span of like 6 hours, I was off of there. I used to. I don't watch them that often anymore. I still rather watch them than like CNN or MSNBC or whatever. So they're, make of that what you will. But yeah, I was on there, and he was talking about the process and how these different websites, they don't outright state what the hell their policy is. Like they'll give you an overview, like, oh, here's our rules, but they still can just like pick off people that they feel like screwing with. So he was saying that was something that should be changed. I agree with it before, and I agree with it now. Man, I was completely taken aback by that. And like I said, the lingering effect is, let's say you get the account back or you make another one. What the hell is going to stop them from doing the exact same thing? That's that foresight kicking in. But don't worry, we'll talk more about it when we do the funeral tomorrow morning or in the afternoon. The Twitter account wake. I'm gonna like go and buy a black shirt. I don't know what brought upon that view. I mean, I even identify as a progressive in my channel info, so I don't know what that, where that came from. You'll forward all kind of weird theories on me, so I don't even want to. I'm not even that surprised. Just like I remember, there was this one guy that came over and he was like, "You're way more conservative when you start this channel." I was like, when I started this channel, I was 10, so I guess maybe. Of course, Batman. No, it's trash. Bomb 7 countries, abets a genocide. Um, then when you get rid of the one party, they do the exact same thing as the other. Man, I love talking about like one of my favorite things is when you get those little different foreign policy institutions because what they try to do is make it seem like things are different. But then if you actually get the real people that aren't part of that group to just sit down and talk, it almost feels like you're stuck in a time capsule from between like 2015 to from that point onward, because that's when we started bombing Yemen or participating in that civil war. It's still going. Doesn't matter who takes over. Military industrial complex has their way, and I can get over like getting uh, rebuked by people that are both liberal and conservative over just like saying I don't care for either party. They get so pissed off. I'm like, look, I'm not bootlicking for one side or the other. Like if I wrote a book where it was like all the horrible international things that have taken place over the last 2 years, in the forward, I'll be like, hey, get mad at the issues, don't get at the party. Vote for a candidate that says I'm opposed to this stuff, not someone that has a DR and R next to their name. Oh man, people don't listen, so it's all good. And then if the person that gets in there, they're still going to get screwed with over domestic issues. So it's all convoluted. Yeah, I just wanted to do a stream that was better than the other one because I really felt like I was just sort of speeding right through that, and I was like just caught up in the shock of it. God, between the aggravating VAs, the constant attempts to the project, it's just like all this stuff just piles up. It's crazy. I don't know. I just feel like one of the benefits of doing the project as much as I do it is just it takes my mind off a lot of other crap. Like the people have actually claimed that like being alone makes you feel whatever. I'm like to an extent that's true, but you gotta understand that if you pick that by choice because you've gotten so sick of people talking to you and treating you any kind of way they think they can, you don't really care. Like I've said before, the only thing any of these broads was good for after I'd say 12th grade or like 11th grade, maybe 2 years ago, my whole interest in them shifted from wanting to, date and eventually settle down with or whatever to want to have a child. Other than that, nothing. Yeah. That seems like a high thing, the probability mark. One side can be alone, the other one can't. Like I'm still one of these people that prefers, occasionally I'll just like go down the street for a walk or something. But other than that, I'm pretty much fine with the way things are. Um, Let me see. I've been for years, and I now hate riding public transportation. Oh, I hate that too, but it's because it's I don't all that touchy stuff is undesirable to me. So we have a similar disposition, but it's over for a different reason. I think we're built for a lot of things. If you're, a person who actively goes out and tries to court a romantic partner, and you do this dozens of times, and you don't get with anyone, I think you've been given a short end of the stick. And I think the solution to that is to say, okay, if they're at large going to ignore me, I'm going to ignore them right back. Like I treat them the exact same way. Like I can't tell you how many different broads I thought were attractive that I just went on my way to not look at or give any kind of attention to. Because again, what's the point? Already have a massive ego. I need to inflate it. I think it should go both ways. People want to act like they're so high and mighty and superior because they think they're pretty or whatever. Let them do it, but also let them do it without you being one of these people that tries to encourage them. I treat them the same way I treat. What's a good example? I would treat Medusa, where you look at her, you turn to stone. I just look away, just like this. I mean, let's be real. There are millions and millions of chicks that I guarantee you, any one of the 6 guys in that chat would love to do all kind of nasty things with. And when you're aware of that, it makes the individual ones that you see walking down the street or wherever seem all the more insignificant and lost in a giant pool of regularity. There's no outliers. So I think we're pretty much done here. Again, there will be a stream tomorrow. I want to do it in the morning, but I might be asleep unless I'm not sure. Again, it's going to be at some point tomorrow. And if you don't catch it while it's live, you can always catch it on the rerun. That's a real solution. In closing, I am very sick and tired of these websites. I'm sick and tired of these people and whatnot. But, I keep reminding myself, you only have one life to live. And, would you rather spend it getting sad because some broad doesn't talk to you or some website decides you're not good enough to post on their stupid platform anymore? Or would you rather do things that are constructive and that you actually enjoy? So I go with the latter. Thank you and have a good day.